Hey everybody, welcome to episode 4 Basement Sports Talk. We're here coming at you live. We're going to talk about the NFL draft that just happened and get some opinions on that, winners and losers of the draft. Talk about some NFL quarterback free agency and how it's going to pan out for those guys with the shortening list of starting jobs available. Then later on in the show, after we discuss our teams and how they fare, we're going to have Brendan Donovan call into the show. He's a Cardinals prospect and lower A ball right now, and he's going to call in and talk to us about how his preparation for the season's going amidst COVID-19. We'll get a word from him. So, Chris, I'll start out with you. How do you think the NFL draft went overall, being virtual and not the traditional draft we're used to seeing?
All things considered, I'm going to say it was very difficult to get all that stuff figured out, logistics of that. I couldn't even imagine, I think the NFL did an overall pretty good job. I thought it was pretty cool going into some of the living rooms and just seeing those people's actual emotions, how they reacted to being drafted. I really enjoyed it, to be honest with you. I think I prefer that way than I would the actual, come up with the big suits and all that stuff. I thought it was more personal doing it the way they did.
It was pretty cool. I enjoyed it. What about you, Damien?
I enjoyed it. Got to see the actual emotion of the guys, or lack of emotion on some points. But Bengals had a very good weekend. Overall, I thought it was a pretty cool experience seeing the girlfriends there, the mothers, the interactions of some. So, yeah, it was a very cool experience overall.
So, what do you think?
I think it's pretty cool, man. Just really different from the top 10 picks or whatever, from going up on a big stage, especially if you was number one. Not really getting to go up and show off, all your talent and stuff have been proven, get to go up on a big stage in front of everybody. It's a once in a lifetime deal. So, them guys definitely miss out on that.
Yeah.
But, it went well for what it was. And it's kind of cool, like Chris said and Damien, about going in people's houses and you get to actually see the different atmosphere and how they pulled it off with not too many technical difficulties. Really surprised me, to tell you the truth.
Yeah, Damien, you got to go to it. You mentioned lack of emotion on some of these guys. I think most notably you're speaking of Joe Burrow, number 1 overall draft pick. So walk me through that living room. What did you see and what did you take away from that?
I personally did not have an issue with it. I just read some things, heard some people saying he should be more, excited, more emotional, life-changing experience. But the kid's known it for a month that he's going there. He's had their playbook. He's been studying. I don't really know what was expected of him, but I was totally okay with it. He knew he was going, so I'm good with it.
It's like finding out you got your 50th surprise birthday party and you find out 3 months prior to this going on. I don't know what they expected from the kid. Obviously it was pretty emotional, but I think he was trying to show too that he can control his emotions, and that's something they probably look for as far as the leadership goes.
Well, do you think any aspect of it was him feeling that he was shorted by COVID-19, not having that walk-up moment with the number 1 overall draft? Joe Burrow, quarterback LSU, him getting to walk up on the stage and hold the jersey. Do you think that was him just being upset about that, or do you think he's just that cool, calm, and collected all the time?
You got to think that going up on a big stage has to play an impact in it. But, I'd say the kid is definitely cool and calm and collected. We'll see in Cincinnati because I'm sure they'll test him. We'll see how cool and calm he is.
Damien, is he walking into a starting job? No questions asked?
No questions asked, absolutely. And, of course, this year's draft is going to be in Vegas. NFL was going to blow it up. So, they were bringing the kids up to stage on a boat at the Bellagio. So, I'm sure he was disappointed. But there's many factors played into it. But overall, I think he handled himself just fine.
Yeah, I think it's hard for us to really speculate how we'd react in that situation. And you start to feel bad for the kid, then you look at the signing bonus and money he's going to make. It's kind of hard to feel bad that he didn't have his moment in Vegas. But, we're not in that position. So, Chris, we'll shoot to you. Talk to me about the Cowboys. How do you think they fared?
First of all, I'm going to say that we went into the draft looking for defense. That's where we really need the help, especially in defensive back. But I think overall the Cowboys had a wonderful draft. I would grade them out at probably an A. You could even say an A+. CeeDee Lamb was there at pick 17, and Pro Football Focus actually rated him as the 6th best prospect in all of the draft. So for them to get him there was a blessing. I think Stephen Jones even alluded to it, that they didn't think there was any way that he would be available. And they honestly, I don't think we're looking at drafting him at there. They were looking at a cornerback or an edge rusher. So he fell right into their lap, and they parlayed that into their second-round pick with Trayvon Diggs, from Alabama, who some even had in the graded out at the first round. So great pickup there. And then they got another Oklahoma kid, Neville Gallimore, defensive lineman, big body guy. And I think he weighs 310 pounds. He ran like a 4.7 at the combine. So he's going to be able to have great speed and get in there where he needs to get in there. Then they end up getting him a cornerback as well, Reggie Robinson out of Tulsa. He's 6'1", 205 pounds. I think he projects currently at a cornerback, can move to a safety. Pretty good player. And I think the steal of the draft for the Cowboys, though, was Tyler. I think his name's hard to pronounce. It's like B-Dash, something like that, from Wisconsin. Damien might have some knowledge on him. He actually, was awarded the award as the best center in college football this year. And then he's replacing a former Wisconsin player in Travis Frederick. Don't know if it'll be a plug-and-play type deal, but he is a huge guy, a great worker, just graded out really well. So overall, I think the Cowboys got what they needed. They ended up in round 7 getting them some depth at backup quarterback who, typically the Cowboys have done this. They haven't really gone big into free agency of finding a backup quarterback. The Cooper Rush kid just signed a 1-year deal to stay on. So they picked this Ben DiNucci from James Madison. He was a Pitt transfer. I think he will be able to be good depth, third stringer type guy that can give them good looks. But overall, I was highly happy with the draft the Cowboys had.
Yeah, I think Trayvon Diggs, that was a steal. Honestly, I think he's going to be a big-time player for you guys. And obviously, we're talking Bengals. They had the number 1 overall draft pick in Joe Burrow. They got their quarterback of the future, but they didn't stop there. Damien, go ahead and tell me what you think about the rest of their draft picks.
Second round was a much-addressed need. T. Higgins out of Clemson, wide receiver. This is a very deep wide receiver draft, and they went and got the best one available. He's coming from a winning culture, got super hands, elite speed. Him and Joe Burrow are going to be the future, obviously. Also addressed some needs at linebacker. Third and fourth round, they both went after linebackers. I personally would have liked them to see them get the Zahn kid out of Wisconsin. They passed on him. He fell a little bit further back, but overall got a lineman, got an end that they needed. So yeah, they made all the right moves this year.
So how do you think that's going to boost them to hopefully a 500-win season, just to get them their foot back in the door?
Man, I honestly do. I think, anytime you can get the 2019 Heisman Trophy winner to your team, it's really going to be a great asset to your team. And then you go and get a wide receiver there in Higgins from Clemson. And, he can be a big downfield threat, man, with, big catch radiuses and probably a good potential red zone target as we're going to need in the future. And the other two linebackers guys, I'm really impressed with some of their highlights I've watched over the last couple of days. So, yeah, I think it's really a great pick by the Bengals, probably the best one in, as Damien said earlier, probably a decade, honestly. I'm really excited for them.
No doubt. My Titans, I thought they had a pretty good draft. I don't think it was a great draft on a bad draft, C+B type of draft. But we needed to address our secondary. We got Christian Fulton, who was great. Giving everyone the SEC nightmares. And then picking up Isaiah Wilson, first round, offensive tackle. I thought that was a good pickup. I think you can dispute it, but Tennessee is one of the best O-lines in football. It's a great line to run behind. So it's a great pickup. Just keep that line stable, especially I think it's always tank time. I think Ryan Tannehill's a great quarterback, but whenever you have a guy he's obviously not your typical, Pro Bowl every year type of guy, when you got a line like that, you got Derrick Henry back there to bail you out, it just makes everyone else play better and makes everyone look better. So I was happy. We also picked up Cole McDonald out of Hawaii, which I find is interesting, the type of quarterback we've been going after. Reminds me of Mariota, that pro-style West Coast type. quarterback, read options, fast. Not going to kill you with his arm, but has a good arm. So I was happy with it. Chris, to go to you. Who do you think else? Who else in the NFL had a good draft?
I think overall, when you look at it, actually, Giants had a pretty good draft. I was looking at their draft. They had a pretty good draft as far as the NFC East. But one thing I want to touch on about overall, typically in the NFL draft, you have some of these top guys that are going to hold out because of contract disputes and stuff like that. And I think that's happened to Cincinnati a few times, happened to Dallas a few times where guys have held out. If there's one silver lining in this COVID pandemic, I think there's not one player in this draft that's going to win the PR campaign if they hold out because their signing bonus is not enough or their salaries are not enough. So I think that's actually going to be one of the big winners of this whole draft is teams are going to be able to sign their players, get the contracts done, get them into camp. As soon as camp opens, it'll make for better football.
No doubt.
Yeah, absolutely, man. That's for sure, Chris.
Damien, who do you think came out worse in this draft?
I think it's pretty obvious. From round one all the way through, Green Bay did some head-scratching moves. Just to trade up for the quarterback, and they've got Aaron Rodgers for at least 3 more years is kind of unusual. This is an extremely deep wide receiver draft, as we alluded to earlier. That was their basic need, and they passed on the second round and third round to get a wide receiver. I'm sure Aaron Rodgers isn't a very happy fella. He'll let it be known, but it's definitely a head-scratching draft for the Green Bay Packers.
So who did they get? Was it that running back? Where was he from? What did they get the second round? Was he from Boston
Dillon.
College?
Yeah,
AJ Dillon.
Yeah, I don't know where he went to school.
Yeah, he's from Boston College.
I thought Jordan Love was. I didn't understand that, and I know we all know Aaron Rodgers is not the happiest of guys to anybody. So I don't know.
Didn't they get that boy from Michigan? The Packers too, offensive lineman.
Yeah.
John.
Brendan.
Yeah.
Yeah, John Brendan, yes.
Y'all think Jordan Love's quarterback of the future for Green Bay? I think he's just going to add them trade value and give them just.
Nah, man.
Yeah, I don't know about that.
Yeah, I didn't. That was probably looking at it just through the whole thing, that was probably one of the biggest head-scratching picks of the whole draft. I didn't think – now, according to a lot of the people, everybody's saying the right stuff. I think Jordan Love even said that they talked to Aaron Rodgers. But I don't know. That their whole thing, was a head-scratcher. I didn't understand what they were trying to go at there.
Well, Kentucky had their first player picked up in Lynn Bowden. He's headed down to Las Vegas. Ty, what do you think about that pickup for Gruden?
Man, that's awesome. I like Gruden. Honestly, I'm not really a big Raiders fan at all, honestly, but I like Gruden, and I think Lynn will be good for them, man. I'm really happy for Lynn, and can't wait to watch him play some, man.
Chris, do you think they're talking that he's going to be a running back for him primarily? How do you think that's going to pan out?
Yeah, I don't know. That's I don't see him, being a running back behind as he did in Kentucky's offense, where he was running the quarterback, where he was doing a lot of waiting for the play to develop. If he's going to do that in the NFL, he's going to get destroyed. Are they going to expect him to pick out blocks? I just find that. They may put him in certain positions where it's going to be direct handoffs and stuff like that. Maybe that's what they're talking about as far as running back. But, I was looking at it today. A lot of the scouts, he's high on some boards, but other ones see him just as a scheme guy, like a gimmick. Basically, if you don't have a gimmick play, he's not one that can create his own offense. I don't think that's true. I think if they do put him in as a wide receiver, get him the work he needs, I think he has athletic ability to excel at that.
Yeah, I think you're going to see him primarily used in some halfback sweep type situations. I think you're also going to see him taking a lot of passes out of the backfield, a lot of screens, just set space up for him in the backfield, get those linemen in place for him to make a move. But as far as your traditional, he's just hitting the B gap and just grounding yards for you. I don't see that's not Lynn Bowden. He's off the edge type of guy.
Yeah, I think one of his biggest strengths is being able to see a play develop. I think you called it there, and he's talking about bubble screens and halfback screens. That's going to be his bread and butter, seeing stuff like that. And he also gives you that option, a jet sweep, and then you have a pass. So he's always able to do that.
Jet sweep for a pass, and just a jet sweep traditionally. But thing about Lynn Bowden and scouting reports, and the same thing when he was in college, like you knew what was going to happen with him.
Yeah.
So I think the Raiders need to be careful in how they game plan, how much they show too soon, because they show that all preseason, and then game one try to go do that's not going to work. It's going to set him up for failure. So they're going to have to really work him in a number of different ways instead of just being a one trick dog. So going on to Logan Stenberg, do you like the pick up in Detroit? You think that's a good spot for him, Chris? What do you think about that?
No, I think it fits him well. I think Coach Patricia will develop him well. I think it's a good spot. I think there is some playing time to be had there, honestly. And I think I said the last podcast, I see Logan being a guy that's going to be in the league a long time, as long as he stays healthy, of course. I think he has the mind, his frame. I think he can still add some more weight, probably some more strength. His arms are a little short, so that's going to be a little bit of something to deal with when it comes to pass blocking and stuff like that. But as far as a mauler, man, he's just he's a player that wants to get dirty, and I'm sure Matthew Stafford will enjoy him blocking for him.
Yeah, Kentucky's also had some guys go undrafted and get signed pretty quick. But before we get to that, Damian, talk to me about some of your guys from Michigan that got picked up and their destinations. What do you think the future is for them?
They had a good draft. The number one player for them was the center, Ruiz. He went to Saints. They had 10 guys overall drafted. First time in the modern era that the entire offensive line was drafted, so that's kind of impressive. Donovan Peoples-Jones, the top wide receiver, he fell quite a bit. Probably should have came back to college, honestly. But overall, super good draft from Michigan. Obviously, a recruiting tool for Jim Harbaugh. But they all pretty much fell in – their safeties and their defensive guys fell into great situations.
Talk to me about Shea Patterson.
Shea Patterson is trying to try out for a few teams. He probably doesn't fit the prototypical NFL quarterback, but he could latch on and be a long-term backup.
So, speaking of quarterbacks in the NFL right now, Jameis just got himself a new home. How do you see that panning out for him?
I think it's interesting myself that he turned down Pittsburgh to go to the Saints. Because, obviously, he said he wanted to learn from the best as far as offense, and Drew Brees his experience. Realistically, he probably could play more in Pittsburgh because Drew Brees doesn't get hurt a lot. With the exception of last year, he had a thumb issue. But Ben's
a question mark.
Excuse me?
Ben's a question mark right now.
Correct. Yeah, he's coming back from a serious injury, and 1-2 hits, and his career's probably over, honestly. And then Jameson could have stepped right in and been the guy there.
Do you think him picking that had more to do with where they play 8 of their games at? Meaning, like, Pittsburgh is not, he's been in college. He played at Florida State, Tampa Bay, and cold days up in Pittsburgh sometimes can hurt the arm. I mean, I don't know if that has anything to do with it.
I don't know how much Jameis puts thought in anything. I don't take him as a deep thinker, but definitely could. Todd, what do you think about Cam Newton? What do you think he's in? What do you think his moves are going to be?
I don't know. I'm just glad, Cincinnati didn't pull something stupid there and alternate some trade and then try to go for him. That's just all I'm happy there. I can kind of figure that they might do something like that.
Yeah. There's just no starting jobs right now. And you look at a place like Jacksonville, Gardner Minshew, Washington State, they're going to ride him to the dirt, and that's just because they'd rather get a good draft pick next year in Trevor Lawrence or a quarterback coming out of next year's batch. I think that says a lot about when you think of Cam Newton of 3-4 years ago. That's a franchise quarterback anyone will get their hands on. It's crazy how 2 seasons of average to below average play will get you in the situation. Now, he's going to have to decide if he wants to go to a roster that has an older guy and he can hopefully inherit a team, or you could see a Ryan Tannehill situation where he goes to a roster, has a decent quarterback, but by week 5, week 4, he's showing that he can steal those minutes and take over a team. But I'll be interested to see where Cam Newton ends up. Moving on from that, do you believe so we had the NFL draft. Do you think showing the ratings of this NFL draft, that they were so high, that this is going to put any push on the powers to push sports to get here quicker? Because those ratings mean money, and they definitely need them after all that's been going on. So what's your take on that, Chris?
I think it's possible. I think still, too, though, a lot of these commissioners are going to probably err on the side of caution. I think they will explore. I know the NBA has even talked about in some of the states that have started opening up, starting camps and workouts and stuff like that. They're going to skirt that gray line, in my opinion, meaning if the governors of the states or the federal government puts out guidelines, they're going to go to that point and try to go as close to the point as possible, so that as soon as they can have games and competitions, they're going to do it. I think the first thing you'll see, first major sport you'll see is probably NASCAR, I think, then golf after that. But I think as soon as they can, they're going to get that. I think one of the reasons this draft ratings are so high, even though the draft is always rated pretty well, I think it's the only show in town. So I think that was a boost for it too. So I don't think this is going to be typical every year to have that.
How long you think NASCAR and golf is still out?
My guess is within the next 3 weeks, NASCAR will start. And I got to be honest with you, the way NASCAR's plummeted over the last 3 to 5 years, I don't think they'll have fans there. But
Right.
if I was them, I'd want to be the first one to shoot, because just like the NFL draft, it'll be the only show in town.
I'd become a NASCAR fan for that. I mean, I need, you want to watch some competition on TV. I don't know what else to watch. The Last Dance is the only thing on.
There was some reruns of dodgeball on the other night. USA was winning, of course, but I watched a little bit of that.
Yeah, I think as a country we're hungry for any type of athletic competition. Especially, this couldn't have happened at a worse time. It took out March Madness. It took out baseball when it was on its when it was coming in, and now it's taken out. You had the Masters. You had the Breeders' Cup got taken out.
Derby.
Derby.
So, I mean, summertime, spring to summer, that's huge for sports. Because I think people always get bogged down in, well, you got fall as football season, but sports are year-round, especially in this country. And there's no good time. This is definitely a bad time. And I hope that these guys who are getting drafted, these NBA players, college ball players, they need to be taking it seriously and still training, because God forbid they're not taking it seriously and they get out there, and then these guys who are 5-star recruits end up being duds because they haven't been taking care of their body, haven't been working out what they're supposed to. So I'll be interested to see if there's any talent drop-off or, guys getting into some trouble.
That's what scares me, for one. These like you said, these 5-star athletes coming in here. Are they really, training like the way they should be at home? That's what worries me to death. I did see where Terry Wilson, was running on a treadmill and stuff, and he's trying to get back to 100%. And he's been coming in, I read, once a week, working one-on-one, just trying to get better and doing what he can. I don't know. This makes me nervous, man, honestly.
Yeah, I see that being a big problem. I think even Coach Stoops, he did an interview today where he kind of alluded to that. He's like, look, we're sending them out the information we can. I think they're going to start trying to FedEx weighted jackets and stuff for them, giving them plans. But, he put the onus on some of the players as, look, they're going to have to. There's only so much supervision we can do from what we have. It's not like they can FaceTime into somebody's house where they're supposed to be working out and stuff like that.
Exactly.
But yeah, it's going to present a problem.
And right now we have Brendan Donovan calling in. He's probably someone that can hit on that and tell us what it's like to train without having us go to him. Brendan.
What's up?
Hey, man, how's it going?
Going well. How about you?
I'm good. So this is everyone. This is Brendan Donovan. We went to high school together down in Enterprise. He went to college at South Alabama. and now he's in the Cardinals organization. So, Brendan, just give us everyone who's listening a quick overview of what your careers looked like, where you've progressed, and where you're at now.
All right. So I spent 3 years at the University of South Alabama. I was drafted in 2018 to the Cardinals organization. From there, it's kind of rapid fire. They sign you in, I think, a day, or they draft you, and 2 days later, I was at one of the affiliates. I was going to a short season league. They send a lot of the newly drafted guys there straight out of college or some out of high school, because you get drafted halfway through where the season is for the full season guys. So I show up, play a couple games, boom, tear my wrist. All right, that's fine. Spent a couple months in rehab, got it all healthy. Last year was my first spring training. From there, I made the low A club, played 140 games in Peoria, Illinois. And I was actually headed back for my second spring training when all these crazy COVID stuff happened. So now I'm just kicking it at home.
Yeah. So, talk to us about how you were training, getting ready for the season, and COVID hits, and how that change has been and what you've been doing to stay in shape. And has it been easy or has it been difficult?
Well, I went down to Florida a little bit early for spring training just to get some work in, because I was going from there to Arizona to play in the World Baseball Classic for Team Germany. Just to sidetrack, my dad, he's still in the military. He's a full bird 06 colonel. So he was stationed in Germany. My brother and I were both born there, so that was my connection. So I was going to play for the German national team, and I practiced for 2 days, and then they canceled it. I called the Cardinals. They're like, dude, just go home. We're about to send everybody home. So I never actually got to do a little bit of spring training. So we were kind of unclear of what to do. So from there, the first thing I did, because gyms were closing, I invested in a garage gym. It's something that I've wanted for a long time. My training is a little bit unorthodox for baseball players. Brats can back me up. Kind of a little bit, not a full-blown CrossFitter, but I like the training aspects of that. I think it gets you in great shape, and it kind of makes you mentally bulletproof. So I feel like that's the best way to go. Baseball-wise, the facilities are all shut down. I meet with 2 other pro guys in the morning at a little middle school field, and we just throw to each other and hit, take some ground balls, but that's pretty much it. We're not getting a whole lot of development baseball-wise, but at least we're getting something.
Have the Cardinals or any of your coaches, have they pushed out any workout plans for you guys to follow during the quarantine?
They send us weekly programs, but it's just not my cup of tea. I kind of like to get in there and throw some weight around, which you can attest to. But they send us stuff, and I use some of the mobility parts of it, but I don't use any of the weightlifting stuff.
Do you think having this outbreak and having guys back at their house, do you think when you get back to normal, you'll see a slight separation from the boys and men as far as who took the break seriously and kept training, kept in shape, and kept progressing versus the guys who took it as a vacation?
Yeah, I think I try to look at it as there's a silver lining to everything. This is going to be a big year for me. I was coming into it mentally and physically prepared and ready to roll. So I think this is actually kind of not – I hate that what the country and everything in the world is going through right now with this pandemic. But I think this is kind of a good thing for me. People don't have access to weight room, or some of them can't even leave the house. So the fact that I can still get my work in is going to be big. I can separate myself, like you said, the boys from men.
Right. So, Chris, Ty, Damien, any questions y'all want to ask Brendan?
Yeah, hey, Brendan, it's Chris, man. It's good to hear from you. Hope all is well. Hey, I wanted to ask you real quick, what did you find most difficult as far as the transition, going from high school to college or from college to pro ball?
From high school to college, it was just the speed of the game. Everything was so much sharper. Everything was quicker. I mean, and the velocity jump too. You got to be able to just make decisions on the fly, especially in the field too. But the biggest thing from college to pro was just the mental side. I had never even thought about playing 140 games. In college, you're playing 56 regular season and then postseason games if you're lucky. So playing every single day is just kind of brutal on your body. But, I mean, you go through 0 for 15, 0 for 20 stretches, and it's nothing crazy. But when you're in the middle of one, you really got to just find something to take your mind off it.
Yeah, and I know you had a great year for the Cardinals organization last year, and I think they rewarded you with the trip to the AAA. Can you kind of discuss the difference in maybe accommodations or how you were treated between levels of pro ball?
Oh man, it was night and day. So we were playing in Clinton, Iowa. Just to explain kind of what Clinton is like. It's not glamorous by any means. There's actually a white boat that sits behind center field, so it's tough to see because it's coming right out of a righty's arm action. The ball is disappearing in the boat. You got a dog food factory a couple miles down the road that when they're making dog food, it smells like pubes. The away locker room floor is I swear it's dirt, but it's a rubber floor that's just dirty. It's like you're standing on the bare ground. So I go from there. They tell me I'm going to AAA. They throw me in a car service, and I ride 3 hours to Des Moines, Iowa. And I hop out. I think we were staying at a Red Roof Inn, and I jump out at a Marriott, and I'm like, wow, this is nice. And I'm walking through this place, and I'm like, dude, this is like the big leagues. Like, I just was in some dump smelling dog food and punching out twice a game, and now I'm in Des Moines, Iowa. So, and they're like, all right, well, you're right across from the ballpark, so just wake up in the morning, reports, just show up whenever you want. Just at least show up an hour before the game. I'm like, okay. So I get up, walk across the field. First one there because I got to get my uniforms and everything. I had eaten in the lobby at the hotel because some of these at the Red Roof Inn, they don't exactly give you breakfast, complimentary breakfast. So I show up and the club is like, hey, what do you want for breakfast? I'm like, what do you mean? They're like, well, today we're making omelets and pancakes if you want some. I'm like, I didn't know that. I'm sorry. But I just ate. They're like, oh, that's fine. You need anything? You need me to run to the store, get you anything? Some guys send them out to get dip or whatever they need, dip, chew. I'm like, no, I'm okay. I'm kind of just startled. I'm like, this is ridiculous. It was nuts. It was seriously like going from high school to the big leagues.
Yeah, that's great, and I'd be remiss if I didn't say how very proud, my family is of you. I've seen you, play high school baseball, how hard you played and how serious you took the game and just the immense preparation it took for you to get where you're at. So I just want to let you know just how proud we are of you. Just outstanding job to be where you're at. And there's no doubt that I see you going all the way to the big leagues. I think your ability to play so many different positions, whether it be second base, third base. I know you played the outfield in college and maybe even in minor league ball. So I can't wait to see, Brendan, where your career goes.
Man, that means a lot. I appreciate you guys taking the time to talk to me. This is pretty cool. It's not something I get to do a lot, but it's cool to just pass off any stories or knowledge I got just from playing with a bunch of great players.
Damian, Ty, you got any questions for him?
Hey, Brandon, this is Ty here. I had one question for you about, I hear a rumor every day of possibly starting baseball with no fans. Like, what is your personal opinion on that? Do you fuel yourself off fans, or how does that work personally?
I think if you're in the big leagues, it's your duty to play, whether you got fans or not. I mean, people are paying you millions of dollars to play because they value you in their franchise. So and especially during a time like this when there's not a lot of positive stuff going on, I think if we could have sports, then people would just feel a lot more safe and sturdy at home, you know.
Right.
As far as, I mean, obviously it would be brutal, and some guys would have a dip in production just because they're used to thriving off fans cheering them on or even heckling them. But like I said, I think it's their duty. They got to look at the big picture right now, and I think the country needs it.
Exactly, man. I agree with you. Well, buddy, good luck in your career. I'll definitely be keeping up with you here, and it's good to meet you. And thanks again for calling in, man.
No, thank you guys. If there's anything I can ever do for any of you guys, please reach out to me. You can get my number from Brax, and I'd be more than happy to help you.
I really
All
appreciate
right, man. Appreciate it.
coming on, Brendan. I'll holler at you later, and we'll let you get off here.
All right, boss man. You got any cool stories for me?
I've been sitting in an office, man. I don't have any cool stories like you.
No, I don't have any.
Oh shoot!
But
Before you go, I got one question for you.
let's hear it.
If my memory serves, I feel like you were in a pretty important game at college. I believe it was the playoffs for your conference, and you hit a walk-off. Am I correct?
Yeah.
Tell me what that feels like.
Dude, let me backtrack just a little bit. So that, first off, is the best team I have ever played with. We could bang it around. And it rained a bunch, so we didn't play the first 2 days. So they made it single elimination, and it actually worked out for us because we were a little shorthanded on staff. We had a couple injuries. But we knew we had a regional caliber team. So we're playing Georgia Southern at their place, and we're the home team because I think we're the first or second seed. I think we're the 3 seed because we came in second on our side. So this is by far the craziest game I've ever played in. You got people it's just people are making, you know, tight games and championship baseball goes. You got people making pitches on both sides, people making plays, people getting big hits. So we go to the 9th inning. We're up 2. And we got our closer in. He's actually in he'll start the year if we have a year in AAA. Could crack the big leagues either this year or next year. He's dominant. Bring him in to close. He gets a little rocky start, and they end up hitting a 3-run home run, and they go up on us. So we're like, all right, well, we go to the bottom of the 9th, and the first 2 batters of our inning go back-to-back jacks. One goes backside, one goes left side, or over the left field scoreboard. So we're now tied up again, and it goes into extras. They brought in this righty to pitch. Big donkey. He was throwing the crap out of it. I think he was 4 to 6 and he was ripping off changeups. But I had a game plan coming in. We'd seen him one time early in the year, so I talked to a couple of my teammates, talked to my coach, and then we kind of had a game plan for him. We ended up getting to a 2-2 count, and I was like, I'm just looking for something at the bottom of the zone. I can always, the way that how I swing, I feel like I can get to anything at the top of the zone, even if it's got some velocity, but I know he's looking for a strikeout here. So he tries to beat me with a fastball. I think it was up and out, and I just got enough barrel on it that I knew it was going to be a sac fly. But I feel like the reason we train is for moments like that. The hard times that you go through in the weight room, or even the rocky starts that you have at the plate or even in the field, I feel like swings and moments like that make everything just so much worth it. That is by far the most favorite moment I've ever had in baseball, and I can still picture it like it was yesterday.
Yeah, I remember watching it on TV. It was definitely amazing, especially knowing you. It's really cool to see one of your best friends, you know, perform and do stuff like that on a national level. So I was really proud of you.
You know, Brandon, I got a
Thank you.
story here for you. You said you just want a story. Me and Braxton was kids. I can't really remember what age, but I came to visit Braxton. And I was always a couple years older than him, and we was outside passing baseball one day. And he said, "Hey, Ty, will you throw me a pop-up?" And I said, "Yeah." And I threw him a pop-up. and the ball he misses it in his glove, and it busts out like his whole front teeth.
I missed
So
my ever, Brendan.
we spent the night in the ER that night.
That was his very first baseball practice ever, by the way.
Lost 3 teeth for it, bub.
There you go. At least you got to see the tooth fairy that night.
There you go.
I wasn't too happy because I missed Game 7 of the playoffs.
I know. Come on, man. He should just suck it up.
Well, Brendan, it's been fun, buddy. I'll holler at you later. I really appreciate you taking the time.
Yeah, man. Thanks for having me. This is awesome.
All right, take care.
Brandon, take care, man. Stay healthy.
Good. Nice to meet you guys. Y'all stay safe and let me know if you need anything.
All right, buddy. Thanks again, man.
See you.
That's Brendan Donovan. Awesome guy. Dad, what are your thoughts?
It's just great just hearing the stories, especially for someone that you've known, seeing someone that's worked their tail off. And it just shows, how much work it does take. I've seen, and this, bro, you've seen that kid work. We sit there and get on these professional athletes about some of the things they do or don't do. But I think sometimes, just us average Joe guys, I don't think we realize the preparation, the hard work. While we're sitting on our couch watching reruns of The Last Dance, those guys are out doing drills and stuff like that. I'm very proud of him. I can't wait to see how he progresses in the Cardinal organization. And I seriously think, and I've done some research, I think he's got a potential to make it to the big leagues. Yeah,
he's different. I remember one time it was for a playoff game at Smith Station, and I believe it was the Pittsburgh Pirates who were watching us. And so we were like on the first base side behind the dugout in our cage. We were just hitting off the tee. This is like an hour and a half before the game, 2 hours. We haven't even taken on field BP yet. We were sitting off the tee, and like the Pittsburgh Pirates scout, maybe a Cleveland scout, and our head coach and the other team's head coach were over like third base side, like almost by the foul line, super far away. I remember we were over there hitting off the tee, and some of the guys we were cussing and had dips in and were acting a fool, and he came over there and he like grabbed us all by the collar and like straightened us out. And that's just, that's what it takes. He's a different type of guy. He cares. It's cool. It was cool for me because like, playing with him, me and him were really good friends. We lifted together every day. Like every day at 11 o'clock my senior year, we lifted together and we hung out all the time. And it's cool knowing a guy that has that in him. And it's awesome to feed off of. I think he really he rubbed off on all of us, and not just in sports but in life. When you can have someone who you just are with every day that makes you a better person, it's priceless. So, Ty, what do you think about it?
Man, that was awesome. He seems like a great kid, and it's really nice that he took his time out of his day to his workout and stuff to call in and talk to us and tell us a little bit about the preparation he takes daily and about the Corona. One thing about it, I just wish my Reds could have looked at him more and made it a little bit more better, to know somebody personally like that and stuff, man. But we wish him well and best of luck, and I'll definitely be keeping up with him.
Damien, let me ask you. Now, I know he's obviously on the payroll. He's not in college anymore, but I got to be honest, I don't think a lot of these kids, like these 5-star recruits, I don't really think all these kids are taking this time off and getting from the gyms and working out.
I think you're onto something there, but you just have to hope that they have to realize the one good thing about Carroll's recruiting in basketball specifically, bringing the 5-star kids in, those guys have a dream. Their goal is not college. Their goal is to get to the next level. They played AAU ball. They play year round basically. You have to hope they're at least staying in shape, getting some work in, because realistically they're going to be on campus for 6 to 7 months, best case scenario, to fulfill their dreams. So hopefully they're going to come in shape, be ready to work as a team, and get going.
I think a lot of it depends on who they know. I mean, just get into a gym, because I know here in Tennessee, and Tennessee is a lot more lenient than Kentucky. Every part, the rims have been taken off the basketball hoops. So I just hope and pray that these guys have a key to the high school, have an AAU coach that has a gym somewhere letting them in, because I think basketball could potentially be the hardest sport prepare for if you don't have access to literally a hoop shoot it.
Absolutely.
That was just overall. And hey, how do we not? We should have probably celebrated and made some confetti or something. The first interview in Basement Sports Talk history, and this outstanding interview kind of shows you what somebody with great talent with hard work what it does.
Yeah, we definitely appreciate Brendan, and we appreciate all of you who tuned in and listened to this other installment of Basement Sports Talk. We really appreciate you guys liking on Facebook, tuning in on YouTube, and listening to us, even just for 5 minutes, just to get a little daily dose. We really appreciate that. So keep following, keep liking, subscribing, and we're going to keep putting out more content for you. So we really appreciate it. So that's it for me and the guys, and we'll be at you for episode 5 later this week. Thank you.